the church you pastor, you must see here today. The condition of the Church of Christ globally, you must see today. You have captured the Israelites. They have become slaves. You have headed with them where? To Babylon. The voice of Rachel wailing, the sons no more, gone, desolation, no worship, right? The inner sanctuary of the temple of God became demolished and silent. But listen to this now. Follow this now. He says, after they arrive in Babylon, you have arrived with the loot. And you say, wow, how precious my gains today. The loot today. Wow, this is good. I've done it today. You begin to appreciate the gains, the loot, the plunder. Look at this now. Then the king now says, based on what we have achieved now, he calls Ashpenaz. Ashpenaz is like the eunuch at the throne. You know, at the throne there are always eunuchs. Ashpenaz is the eunuch at the throne. And he tells the chief official for all the others, he says, can you now go into the plunder? Go into the Israelites, and now you can talk with choice. Huh? And check for me in there and find for me some few good ones who are from the royal family. Are you beginning to see how this thing is going? It's not starting to go well now, right? It's starting not to go well. Senor. Because now, why is he targeting the royal family? And he's saying, those of nobility. You know the ones of nobility? Even when they come here now, some of you might stand up or lie down or do something. They walk with stature. They walk with dignity and honor. Nobility. He says, find for me those of nobility, the royal family, and look at the description that he sets forth. He raises the benchmark. He says, however, if somebody lies to you, you'll use this litmus test, this benchmark, this standard here to really gauge whether they are saying the truth. Listen to this now. Listen. He says, you go for me in there and find for me those of nobility, the royal family. But you know the way sometimes refugees can lie, eh? You will be able to know that they are noble based on the following standard. Can I go through this now? Okay, let's go through it. He says, verse 3, then the king ordered Ashpenaz, king of his court officials, to bring in some of the Israelites from the royal family and nobility, young men. He's saying, don't bring old men. He's saying, get those from the royal family, those who are noble, and he says, they must be young men. If, what I'm saying is this, if I will go and find you being environmentally destructive is the word, eh? When now you become an environmental terrorist, eh? Huh? And you said, I want to bring down this forest, and I find you with big saw, electric saws, eh? And axes, you are cutting down the big trees. What are you doing? I am trying to kill this forest. I will say, me, I'm going to have a cup of tea. I will answer you back. I say, you have not done nothing. I'll just go and have a meal. I say, he does not know what he's talking about. But if I find you cutting the young trees in that forest, the seedlings, then I'll tremble. I say, why is this man destroying the environment? Because the young are the future. And he says, the way refugees like to lie, this is how you will know they're from the nobility. the royal family, the nobles. Huh? He says, young men, first of all, of nobility, and then he says this about them. And young men without any physical defect. Ah! That the only way you are going to know they are from the royal family, when you check them up, well brought up, they are well fed, well groomed, they grew right, they grew well. None of them is limping. None of them is showing signs of deficiency. Did you understand me here? I hope you can see the church in the process, but I will bring you there. Don't worry about that. Because the purpose is this, that you may see the Lord speaking to the church in parable. To this church, the church of this hour. The purpose is this, that you may be able to perceive and appreciate the condition of the church, the fallen condition of the church, and what the devil has done. You know, he does not have two tricks. He has the same, right? If you discover the trick, you shut it down. Because he's saying, they must be young men without physical defect. That is how you know they're from the noble family. The other thing he says here, handsome, showing aptitude in every kind of learning. Do you see the benchmark he set up? The screening mechanism. Royal family and nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude in every kind of learning, well informed, quick to understand, qualified to serve in the king's palace. He's saying this, that not only did he go attack besiege, and he saw the most important implements, the things to take, and he says he took the consecrated articles of worship, and guess what? When he took them, there must have been, look, this is the temple, this is the altar of sacrifice, and there must have been a storehouse where those which are not in use are being kept. When somebody brings a special golden gift unto the Lord, or a beautiful golden article of worship, they put it, or they made new ones, or special ones for Rosh Hashanah, special ones for Yom Kippur, whatever. The special for special worship functions. There must have been other extras in the treasure house of Jehovah. And there must have been those currently in use. And so they took plus the other extra, and he says they went and did the same. They put into the worship house for into the Babylonian temple. Into the Babylonian temple. And then they now took the extras and put in the treasure rooms of their God also. Hey, they said, like it was in Jerusalem, we do it here. Did you understand this story here? This is very big here. But now listen to this now. After doing so, he says, now go ahead and bring me some young men. Those who are from the royal family, of nobility, no defect, handsome. He really used a standard. He raised it actually. He put kichungu. Alichungua tena, akatumia kichungu nyingine juu yake. That must also be handsome. He said, and he says, showing aptitude in learning, well informed, qualified. When you look at them, you know, this must have been from the royal family. Why did he target them? Why? Let me explain to you. When you are in the army and you attack, you besiege and attack and take over, the next question becomes, what else? Because this this enemy, we know how virulent the enemy can be. Vicious, ferocious this enemy can be. And that was now Babylon speaking about Israel. They know how powerful Israel was, how mighty they were. But the question was then, what is it that we can do to them that can make sure they never rise again? Did you understand me? Why? Because normally, after they leave for some time and so forth, it is going to be those who came from the royal family that always rise up and take authority and say, guys, hey, are you aware that this is not Jerusalem? Are you aware that we are slaves here? How come now you are intermarrying, you are intermarried, you are settled here, you are beginning to enjoy life here? Guys, let us return to Jerusalem. Did you understand why he targeted them? Only those who have inheritance to the throne, to the crown. You begin. I know you begin to see the church, but hold on first. Please don't do this to me now. Allow me first explore the whole 9 yards, then I'll bring in the church. He says, if there is going to be any hope for these people in this conquest here, that hope is going to be from those who have inheritance to the crown. Those who have inheritance to the throne. Those who, they are the ones who will rise up and mobilize and say, guys, revolt, and we are leaving now. We are going back to Jerusalem. That's why he targeted the young men of noble descent. Those who are inheritors. They have inheritance to the throne. And he says, if I can catch those from the royal family, and then you will see the few, the devil is so cunning. You will see the few things he does to them. When he gets them now, look at what he does to them. He does the following to them. After getting them, again I repeat verse 3. Then the king ordered Aspinaz, chief of the court officials, to bring some of the Israelites from number 1, royal family, number 2, nobility, number 3, young men, number 4, without defect, number 5, handsome, number 6, aptitude, number 7, learning, number 8, quick to understand, number 9, qualified, well informed. All those, you can write those, right? You saw the standard. But when he gets them, look at what he does. He was to teach them the language and the literature of the Babylonians. Did you understand now? You are beginning to see the intention of the devil here. I mean, let me first talk Babylon here. That those who would have been the hope, if you will catch them properly, those who could have been the hope of that Israel nation, the nation of Israel in Babylon, if you will catch them well, after catching them, then transform them, Babylonianize them, then transform them to be Babylonians. How do you do that? By teaching them the language and give them literature, Babylonian literature, to read, that it will transform them. As they speak the language of Babylon, they can now read the literature of Babylon. And language and literature define the culture of a people. Do you understand how everything was working here? In other words, transform them to Babylonian culture. We want to finish them, finish the Israelites completely now. Oh yes. Nobody shall rise up and try to redeem or to save, to be a redeemer or a savior Salvador in Spanish, to rescatar, to rescue them. No, nobody. Because you take the hope and then do this. Look, brainwash them. I've not said it yet. They are coming from Israel, from Jerusalem, with the culture of Jerusalem, with the language of Jerusalem, with the stature of Jerusalem. As the people of Jerusalem, when they arrive, you must pass them through a process of transformation to do the following. Look, to remove the Jerusalem from them, from their heads. You must go in kwa kichwa yao hiyo. Ingia huko. Utoe hiyo Jerusalem. Toa kabisa tupa nje. Kwanza. That means to dismantle the values of Jerusalem from their minds, from their heads. And then to infuse, to put in now the Babylonian values. I have not said it properly. It's like this. Look. To deconstruct Jerusalem from their minds, from their heads, and reconstruct Babylon into them. Are we together? I feel even if I finish now, I'm ready. Transform them by giving them Babylonian language to speak. Transform them by giving them, guess what? Babylonian literature to read. Because you know, the more they read, transform. Like the one who was supposed to get the Nobel Prize, they say his literature really changed a lot of people from many nations when they read it. Then I understood what literature can do. What the enemy was doing here. He knows how to get to you, right? You understand how the devil wants to do with the church. No, I'm not here to the church. I'm just what he has done with the church. And he says, verse 5, the king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that they were to enter into the king's service. Do you see the title of the message where it's coming from? The kingly diet. Have you seen the title now? The king's diet. The diet of the king. Chakula cha kifalme. Chakula cha mfalme. Chakula kifalme. You understand it now? He's saying, after you've transformed their minds, transformed their culture, now, look everybody here. Can I say this in the more humblest way? At times you can do demographic studies, population studies. The professors here know, the doctors know this. As I was one time interested in that before the Lord called me. I was interested in why is it that among the Chinese population, so these were 2 groups I was working with. The Chinese population, there are lower instances of colorectal cancer. I was interested in knowing why is it that among the Americans it is prevalent. You see that? And you know where that takes you right away. While we were looking at chemoprevention, rather chemotherapy, by the way, I mixed it. Chemotherapy. Now chemoprevention became important. Say, why is it that the Chinese, most of them don't have the colorectal cancer? It's less, the incidences were lower. While among the Americans, it's the most common. Listen, it boiled down to lifestyle. Then we became interested in chemoprevention. But what is it that these people do that the others don't do? What do these ones do that make them exposed to this cancer? And what is it that the others do that makes them not exposed? But of course the Chinese had another, upwards, whatever. You see that? But listen to this. In other words, what I'm using that to say is this. We are what we eat. You are what you eat. said it is not enough to change their language and literature, and they are still eating the food of Jerusalem. They are still Israelites anyway. You must change their diet also. Once you change the diet, then you got them to be Babylonian now. No, that one is now critical. That one actually the most sensitive right now. I have touched the nerve center, the nexus. I have now just touched the nerve. We are what we eat. You are what you eat. So when they could eat, when they began to eat the Babylonian food, then there you go. Now they were transformed to Babylonians. Did you understand what the devil was trying to do here? Oh, but you people, I don't understand why your gospel is light. It's very light. Light, mwangaza is good, but I'm talking about light nyepesi. Huh? Why are you people preaching a very light, nyepesi, very gospel which is very light, not heavy, shallow? Why? Because you can see already from the devil that when the devil does his things, he does them deep, very deep. He leaves nothing to chance. Change them and change the diet, most importantly. You will now see where the rain started beating us from.